next panel is going to be talking about margins that matter, the top line versus the bottom line. I have to say this is a topic that's dear to my heart because I've never understood the idea of the top line if it doesn't make anything on the bottom line. Then you're just spreadsheeting your way into happiness. So hopefully I'm going to learn a little more from our panel, which includes Ashok Fateh, VP and Business Head at ITC Frozen Foods, Kula Naidu, Director Secret Ingredient, Lokesh Krishnan, Founder and CEO of Bottomline, Nachiket Shetty, Co-Founder Kitchens, PM Sumana, Co-Founder of Hotshare, Founder and CEO of the Soul Company, Rahul Singh, Founder and CEO of Beer Cafe, Varun Madan, Founder and CEO of Salad Days, and to moderate our session we have Ratna Bhushan, author and senior editor at the Economic Times. Ladies and gentlemen,
interviewed through the years. Some I've called on Sunday afternoons. Some I've called late nights. Thank you so very much for taking my questions every single time. As someone who's tracked the consumer sector closely over the years, one thing that has particularly struck me is that while growth and transformation has happened across various industries, your industry stands out. It's seen the maximum number of twists and turns, as I'm sure you all will agree. You've seen the advent of deliveries, quick deliveries, data masking, uneven commissions, contactless dining, growth and transformation, GST issues, input tax credit, and of course, the logout movement. At the center of all this sits a very crucial issue, that of margins. Bottom line versus top line. How does one maneuver all this? There are too many deliverables. There is unit economics, targeting costs, commissions, budgeting, manpower, and so much more. Today with this esteemed panel with me, many of whom are friends, we'll deep dive into the issue, managing margins and what it takes to maneuver and succeed. Thank you so much. Rahul, I'd like to start with you as founder and CEO of the Beer Cafe and now also steering Beer 91's retail venture. And of course, you've had multiple experiences in other consumer businesses. Is it possible to manage profitability, bottom line and top line simultaneously?
Thank you. Thank you, Ratna. Good afternoon, all. I think in commerce you need to have both, right? You don't have a bottom line and a top line together. It's the balance that you need. But the way I look at it is like making a cake and eating it too. So you have to make the cake, which is the revenue, and eat it too, which is where the profits of the bottom line comes in. You have to have obviously very high margins, very operational efficient system, and a great strategy. So anything that you do, any commerce, it's just not our food or food delivery or any business that you are in, you need to have both. And I absolutely believe that that balance can be created. It's like, let's say you want to take a rocket to the moon, you will have the thrust, you need that growth, but you also need the distance. The distance comes from how efficient the fuel is. You have to watch the two together, and I would say it can be done by one person, but I normally say that it should be like a jugalbandi between two people. That's why a lot of companies are founders, but more or less you need a team which actually watches both. It's a fine balance, and you need to do that, because without the bottom line, why are you in commerce? Just do charity.
Right, so what makes the P&L taker, and what about hidden costs? Do they silently kill margins? And how do you deal with this?
Hidden costs, there are always hidden costs, and that's why a lot of auditors have this little, what you call, the footprint, where they kind of put all those provisions and stuff. But I think the way I look at it is very simple. It's a game of detail. अगर आपकी नजर हटी तो दुर्घटना घटेगी. You have to watch every cent that goes out, whether it's done through systems, processes, or whatever it is. But you have to keep watching your going. You have to, because sometimes, like in my business, which is obviously with alcohol beverage, it's not just watching the ball. It's because the goalpost is changed by the governing leader. So it's not just where am I hitting. I could be doing a self goal. So you have to watch regulation and stuff. But if you don't watch your costs, definitely you will burn out very quickly. So I'm absolutely fastidious about watching costs. For me, that's a very, in my day, a lot of time is spent on that, apart from obviously the growth. But I would spend more time on watching my costs for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, that has always worked. Yeah. Okay, on that note, I'd like to bring you in, Varun. Who would have thought that salad is a full meal? You identified that and filled that niche so perfectly. As a seasoned entrepreneur and founder of the Salad Days, you've been at the forefront of evolving consumer preferences. Tell me, how can restaurants and cloud kitchens maneuver to manage their profitability and their menus?
So you're asking about how the menus can be managed? Well, I think if we have to talk about menu with respect to profitability, I think largely from my experience, I would say that a good menu has to do differently than what it has to do with profitability. Profitability for me in sort of menu would come from reducing wastages, from working on cross-utilization of ingredients, building new products which cross-utilize different ingredients, and not the SKUs of raw ingredients should not be a lot out there and catering to one or two dishes. So I think more from intelligently using raw materials is how I would say that the menu should be curated, so that it leads to profitability by way of reducing wastages and operational excellence.
Okay, important highlights there. What are your views on ROIs on premiumization? Is that something long-term, or it can happen in shorter timelines too?
Well, premiumization can be understood in many ways. The way that I understand premiumization, I would say that if it adds value to the customer's experience, it should be done. I won't hesitate in saying that I am not a big fan of gimmicks. So if it adds value, otherwise people get to know, and ultimately, I think repeat ratios, repeat percentages, how many customers come back to you, they feel satisfied after ordering, they want to order again, that matters more. I'll give you an example. If you do add-ons to your menu, that makes complete sense to me. But if you want to premiumize your offering, I'm deviating slightly from the menu part, but the packaging part, for example, just to make it look premium when it's not premium and charge more for the customers, that's not something that I would be a big fan of. But add-ons make a lot of sense. You increase your average order value by getting add-ons, so that's definitely a yes. So one needs to probably look into the efficacy of the premiumization of the menu and go for things which add value.
Yes, and pivot sooner than before it's too late.
Absolutely.
Right.
Wherever, however you can make your average order value higher, one should do that.
Thank you. Interesting insight there, Varun. Enterprise, innovation and risk-taking are mutually beneficial and drop gains together. That's where I'd like to bring you in, Lokesh. Entrepreneur, hustler, been with Amul, Metro Cash and Carry, and now the big leap to pot-filled biryani and the cloud kitchen model. So what's the popular industry best practice around unit economics that you agree and disagree with?
Thanks, Sadhna. Good evening, everyone. See, food is a very competitive business, and the unit economics, what you see in Excel and what you realize in real, are two different numbers altogether. So for me, in my view, unit economics is an output of your repeat economics. If your repeats are good in your business, then everything else will fall in place. And for repeat to be good, your product has to be really, really strong. And your customer experience has to be really, really strong. In our own company, we don't give sales target, for example, to our kitchens. We give VOC target. It's voice of customer target. We believe that Customer experience is an input and sales, profit are an output of that input. So if you don't get your product right, if you don't get your customer experience right, then your unit economics anyway will look very bad, no matter what you do, what you're trying to do. So I think if one focuses a lot on getting the product right, not just one day, every day, with every single order, and your overall customer experience right, from packaging to delivery to everything, I think then unit economics will fall in place the way it should. It looks on Excel at least, so that's my thing.
Right. You talked about customer experience. Tell me, is premium packaging and experience indeed a driver of loyalty? Or do customers flip whenever a new kid on the block comes? So how does it work?
I don't think customer decides to be with a brand because the packaging is sexy or it's beautiful. What matters to customer the most is the product. When you deliver a food, you are hungry, you just want to eat food, you will just open the packaging and eat. What's important though is the functional balance. It should be spill proof, spill brace proof, heat resistant, sustainable if possible. In our case, since we make biryani in handis and it's piping hot when you deliver, so when you hand it over to customer, they can't hold it. So therefore, we use a very high GSM packaging so that it doesn't burn customer's hand. So functional packaging is more important when you deliver the food than a very fancy packaging. At the end of the day, cost also matters, so you will have to be cognizant of that. But what really matters is the food. If the food is good and packaging is functional, I'm sure customer appreciates that.
Right, so one more question comes to mind, which is not part of the schedule, but I have to ask you. You're talking about functionality. I'm asking you about inflation. The past few quarters, consumers have downtraded. Inflation has impacted a lot of discretionary spending across categories, including dining and food. So when you're talking about functionality, how much is the consumer willing to stretch his or her wallet to get products which he needs, or will he be okay to give away functionality for a lower price product?
No, what I meant by functionality is the packaging functionality. You don't have to spend too much money on packaging, as long as it's basic functional, it should be okay. And food, everybody wants food irrespective of inflation. Maybe the frequency of ordering might change. Maybe you are ordering twice a week because of difficult economic situation. You might order just once a week, but you will still order food, good food. So that would always happen.
Right. So from one founder to another, Nachiket, you've cracked some sweeping out of box businesses, and as a culinary strategist, you're now operating nearly 20 kitchen locations with large food and beverage brands under kitchens. We've often heard about hidden costs in the food business. What are your learnings through the years, and how do you help your brands?
So we work mainly as a kitchen as a service provider with other brands. So all of these would be my partner brands if they want to come to Bombay or expand to Bombay, right? And what we try to offset for them is 4 things. One is utilities, manpower, licensing, and equipment. So there's a lot of operational efficiency that can come with shared spaces, with equipment that can be shared. Also things like manpower, right? Because maybe salad might be a very popular thing at lunch, but that manpower in the evening may not be utilized. So we can then repurpose that manpower to do something else. So we, being a kitchen as a service provider, that will help. Like biryani might again be popular at lunch and at dinner, but in between there's a lot of downtime. So if I have a dessert brand, or if I have a snacky brand, the manpower can be repurposed there. Space utilization can be better. So that's how we help brands to sort of improve their top line and their bottom line. Also, because we take care of their things like equipment, manpower, general services, dealing with the aggregator, the brand themselves can just sort of concentrate on doing their product better or marketing themselves better, which is where the additional savings that come can be reinvested better. So that's where we try to help our partner brands to sort of juice out maximum out of reaching out to more customers. So it also helps them that if you place an advert or if you market yourself on Zomato or Swiggy, if you're in more locations, the ROI on that advert is much higher. So we try to shave out a small margin in every location that I to try and help our partner brands like sort of service better and reach out to a more bigger audience.
Right. And what kind of services do you offer to help brands with their bottom lines?
So we have 4 verticals. The first vertical is carry and go, pick and go. It's for brands like who have ice cream or dessert or chocolates, where the production is done in a central warehouse or a central facility, and they can just distribute through us. Then the second one is, where the product is 90% already back-ended, and all we have to do is heat and serve. So again, it gives them more control on the quality, the quantity, and also better margins because it's all centrally produced and produced in a larger quantity. So they just have to distribute to us. We have to hold and serve it. The third is cooking from scratch. So where things will come pre-marinated and my manpower make it from scratch. And the fourth is that if you have some secret sauce or you say I have a recipe that I don't want to share with anybody or only my manpower can execute, then we'll just give them operational space and they can bring in their equipment and their manpower. So these are the different verticals which sort of they can use to leverage and save their costs better. Because if today's Saladis has to go and set up 20 kitchens or 50 kitchens in Bombay, it's going to take him time. It's also going to take him the headache of finding manpower, dealing with authorities, getting licensing, finding the spaces. Same thing with Portable, right? So the idea is that they tie up with someone like us who's already done the legwork. So it's more of a plug-and-play model, which sort of reduces a lot of your cost to expand.
Yeah, very important points there. Dining and delivery isn't just about restaurants. It's implicitly linked to packaged foods. This is the perfect time to get your perspective, Ashu. You're steering ITC's frozen foods business with brands like MasterChef and Farmland at a time when convenience and 10-minute deliveries have become intrinsic to Indian kitchens across the country, right? How can manpower optimization drive better economics for a business like yours?
Thanks Ratna, and good afternoon to you all. Glad to be here. The business I run, I'm in the business of servicing the restaurant, cafe owners in terms of product and food solutions. That's what ITC MasterChef does. And I think when I look at what we are discussing today, I think it's not top line versus bottom line. I think it's top line and bottom line. The endeavor that we bring to the table is how can we help restaurant owners, reduce costs, ensure a delightful customer experience. Can I provide consistent quality in terms of the product that I offer to the restaurant owner? Can it come at a cost that is at a special value because I can process at a scale. I can buy at scale and therefore offer it to the restaurant owners at a price point which is smart in that way. Can I help reduce wastage? Because I think in terms of costs that the restaurant owners go through, both from wastage, quality and consistency, manning and manpower today is a big cost, I'm sure most of us will agree to that. And our endeavor is that because of the range that we have in frozen and ambient across both the products, our endeavor is to provide the restaurant owners with a range that they can carry and serve in their kitchens, which can answer for that. I know you had asked especially in terms of retail, I think is where you're coming from. So my retail business is the other vertical. I have a food service vertical and a retail vertical. We carry our entire range on the e-com platform because that's the question you're specifically asking.
Right.
So e-com for us has been a big an inflection for the category. Frozen foods has always had a challenge because availability has been a challenge. It's not available across many outlets. Our home freezers are limited in space, right? You can't store too much. Discoverability of the product is a challenge when you go to a store. Where do you find, how do you discover the products? So what it has done for us is that you can now go onto any of the apps. You can discover the range of products that we have, which is from regular potato products to a beetroot kebab, to a paneer pakoda, to a chicken wings, to you name it and it's there because it's just your imagination which will stop you. The freezers solve because of quick delivery. you don't need to store anything in the freezer, right? In 10 minutes things are available, it's an impulse purchase. And the third is that the experience has got so much better because when you're delivering in 10 minutes, the product remains at minus 18, which is so important intrinsic because we don't add any preservatives to our product. Minus 18 as a frozen product is really the preservation. And therefore, if you can ensure that the product is delivered in a certain period of time, 15 minutes, even if it is not in a frozen state, leaves the venue at minus 18, you are able to ensure that. So to your point, I think it's really been an important inflection for us as a category.
Right, and you also already addressed part of my next question, but I still need to ask. How can frozen brands like yours improve customer experience and unit economics for restaurants?
I think that's a good question because the entire purpose of this category is that can I offer a restaurant owner a consistent product, as I mentioned, and a unit economics which is smart. And as I mentioned, because we operate at scale, I can ensure that both with my regular products, which is a burger patty or a biryani or a gravy, and also with my curated products, because my factory or most of the players who are in this business can do curated products. So that brings scale to the purpose. It ensures consistency, as I mentioned. It ensures zero wastage in terms, and it lets the restaurant owner also sleep well because you know it's coming from a source where you don't have to worry too much about that. And therefore, when we work with a lot of the restaurant owners, I think most of our time is spent understanding their business. And I have to tell you, it's a very tough business. And when I hear the stories that Rahul and a lot of my friends and colleagues mention, it's a tough business. And food is a really tough business, exciting business, but a tough business. Our endeavor is to sit down, work with them and understand where else can we help make it better and improve customer experience. Because eventually if you can drive customers to your store, as was mentioned, you will get your bottom line as well. And I think both are very important for the business. And that's what we try and do in our small way that we operate.
Right, and I have one more question for you. You're a brand, packaging is a core differentiator, it's the touch point for the consumer. But is there a point where businesses find that packaging, investing in packaging ahead of the curve is a cost that is no longer working? And is there a way to backtrack because the consumer has now got used to a certain packaging, right? A certain customer experience. So what do you do in situations like this?
So when it comes to food service, I think our packaging is functional because we want to keep costs low for the restaurant business, and therefore it's very functional packaging to ensure that I can deliver in minus 80 with basic packaging. When it comes to retail, as you rightly said, we don't want to invest beyond because there is a certain cost and functionality to the product. You want to make sure that there are a couple of things that your product that speaks out, that it maintains the temperature because it's at minus 18, even though it's in a freezer, your packaging should address that. It should come to you in a manner that you can use what you want and the rest can go back in a ziplock into the freezer. That's all that you want to offer to the consumer. And make sure that it speaks in terms of telling the consumer that you're freshly frozen, no added preservatives, and you walk the talk in terms of what your product believes in. Beyond that, I don't think you want to invest too much because that's going to get cost transferred to the consumer and you want him or her to really enjoy the product in a manner that it should be enjoyed. So packaging has to be basic plus premium. When we say premium, it should look good. It should invite the customer to buy because you are in a freezer and you've got a barrier before the customer interacts with you. But beyond that, I think we don't want to really load the customer with the cost. That's at least our objective.
Right. For businesses to be holistic and come full circle requires diversity. So Mana, it's the perfect time to get you. You started your career in brand and marketing across technology and retail, then at Chumbak, and then set up consulting firm The Soul Company. And now you're steering Hot Chef, which connects retail investors with lucrative and sustainable opportunities in F&B. That's quite amazing and very timeless. So tell me, everyone talks about growth at all costs versus profitability. But if you had to pick one, which would it be and why?
Hi, thank you so much for the introduction. Good afternoon to all of you. I live in Bangalore, so obviously when a auto rickshaw guy is thinking about enterprise value out there, and growth is all that you hear about from other industries, and obviously because I didn't start in F&B in that sense. But I think one key thing about F&B, unlike other industries, is that when you look at tech services and tech products, you hear about all those big evaluations and you hear about all those busy funding stories. I think the key thing there and why growth constantly becomes a conversation there is because it takes time to arrive upon your consumer. It takes time to arrive upon product fit and a market fit. I think with F&B and with restaurants, essentially you're talking about a business that has to hit the ground running on day one. So both, yes, extremely important, and growth can also be seen in so many different ways, right? There's obviously at a consumer level, there's at a business level, there is what you're doing on the back end in that sense. But I think profitability is what, at least at Hotshare, where we are kind of assessing who are the best operators that we go and raise funding for, becomes key to the entire F&B story. I think today, a lot of successful F&B entrepreneurs sitting here on the stage and off the stage are people who worked on that before they worked on figuring out the next 5 outlets, right? I was just talking to a restaurateur this morning and he was talking about how they actually cut back on growth and cut back on the number of outlets that they had and went back to core business, 2 outlets and are seeing much better numbers. And at the end of the day, Bottomline speaks. Bottomline also allows you to have richer conversations with potential investors about how you want to grow. Because there's no point, honestly, in F&B, at least in India, where Rahul also mentioned the goalposts keep shifting with government, with consumers, to even try and grow unless you are profitable at the core business level or at the first outlet or the second outlet. If you don't kind of figure out that magic sauce for your business, I don't think growth should even be a conversation.
Right. As you said, the goalposts keep shifting. But is there such a thing as good loss in the business? We're losing money. Today makes sense for profitability tomorrow. What's your advice to industry peers on that?
Yeah, I think when you think about, so I put it into 2 kinds of formats, right? You have product first kind of brands, and then you have experience first brands in the restaurant space as a whole. When you talk about product first brands, where essentially a consumer is coming for a product, right? It's a burger, it's a biryani, and then there are variations within that. You might, like in any other business, have loss leaders within that. There's this brand in Bangalore that has been making waves called Alien Time. It's a juice brand, it's just a gentrified juice shop, pretty much. They have like a baked vada pav at 49 bucks. When you look at what it's taken in terms of fitting out that space, when you look at the kind of equipment they have behind the counter to make your juices, you know this is a loss leader. But you know also when you sit there and you pick up a juice for 100 bucks, that you will pick up that baked vada pav because suddenly now you have this combo happening. Pretty clearly that is a loss leader product for them. So would I do it at that level in terms of, hey, listen, I'm happy to lose money on products or specific SKUs to build a story, to build a brand, to be able to get consumers to walk in and create a combo? Yes, maybe there it makes sense. And the other sets of restaurants that are experience-led, you would do that at a people level, right? Great front of house pretty much defines the experience in most restaurants. More than the food, you may not come back for the food the next time, but you will come back for a great experience and the people make that experience. So there again, are your people costs going to end up being higher so that you're able to deliver that experience in the short term so that the experience gets normalized over a period of time and then you're happy coming back to that restaurant. Short term expenses of this sort or costs that you're ready to take on the business to be able to build a story or value proposition for the consumer absolutely makes sense.
Very, very interesting, Somana. Thank you so much. I'd like to turn to Kola now. As founder of Foodcraft and steering your consultancy, Secret Ingredient, 2 decades of stellar experience in hospitality. I was just reading your profile. You've been there, done that. What's your take on discounts and promotions? How do you really calculate their long-term cost to your bottom line? Especially in today's scenario where, we know that consumers are deal seekers, there's inflation, they're down trading, and this is happening not just for consumers but also at a B2B level.
Hello? So you talked about discounts and promotions. Oh, I love Zomato. I love Swiggy. Love you guys. Super important. You know, we at Asian House, we started over 15 years ago, so there was no aggregator at that time. You know, we would print out flyers on menus, put them in newspapers, and send them out. And that was the only way that we could get people to know that, you know, that we're a delivery brand that didn't even exist back then. And we put discounts on those flyers. We'll get a lot of customers who call us and never avail. Very odd. And then we soon came to realize that, you know, I think if you've got a good product and the customer loves it, I don't think discounts is a way to kind of gain more business. However, I mean, as a brand, we continue to launch more brands. We realize that when we enter new markets, it's sort of important to have that discount. You know, so the consumer, then, you know, because you're an unknown brand in that city, right? So then it gives you a chance to sort of then try your brand out. We would do this for a limited time only. So yeah, and I think if you focus on your product, and your product's great, I think the customer's always going to come back to you.
Okay, coming to another cost, which is manpower, which is crucial for services industry, right? How do brands know if their manpower costs are inflated? What red flags should brands look for? And is reducing manpower costs actually easy, especially when it's used for certain SOPs?
Well, I think manpower is a massive struggle right now for all of us. I think it's a massive brain drain. I think a lot of talented chefs leaving the city, the country. So I would say try to keep them as hard as you possibly can, you know, hold your staff. We sort of develop different models. So in Asian House, for example, you're busy at particular times. So on weekends, you're super busy, right? And you need the team to support that. On the weekdays, you're not as busy. Then what do you do? So we've developed certain models like chef at home. You know, so the chef will go to your house, prepare food for you. It'd be like a catering, but that's not a catering. So I think if you continue to develop different models and hold on to your team members, I think that's the way to go. I think when it comes to percentages, I think it's different for every sort of brand, right? I think whether it's QSR or premium or that percentage will continue to vary. I think 15% is a fair sort of mark.
It's clearly a lot to do on. I have one more set of questions, and so the Twitter is on, but I must ask you all. Rahul, I'll come back to you. Is menu engineering just a fancy word for upselling?
It's not fancy at all. Menu engineering is important because, first of all, if you have a menu, you have to engineer it. You know, from a purpose point of view, you have to engineer the menu. Now, I've read about this. A lot of people say when you look at the right side, it should have a higher value, this and that. The way I look at it is, I think the customer is smart enough, and they definitely see the pricing. It's the right side of the product. But if you're fair in where it is, like I would rather go price-wise. So a lot of people, what they do, they put the price in the middle, which is, let's say, higher margin. Like wine is an example. Like you put a wine at 1,000 rupees, and you put a wine at 5,000 rupees. But where you make your most money, let's say on 2,000 rupee wine, automatically you look cheap buying 1,000 rupees, and 5,000 might just kind of grow you, so you go for the 2,000. So it depends on brands. A lot of restaurants do that. What we look at is fair pricing, and we've always believed that our pricing is alphabetic when it comes to product, and it also is pricing. So it's, let's say it's 199, then 299 will come out to 199. I just believe that the customer is smart enough, they understand it, and our business is all about repeats. Our business is all about relatability. Persons coming back again. We don't want any gimmicks. Just keep it very simple. In fact, even during COVID, we didn't go to contactless menus and stuff. We created menus which are still printed, and people would look at it because a lot of people can't look at the phone. We don't want them to be stressed with the phone. The idea is to be stressed. You're coming at be stressed. Don't look at the phone. Just look at the menu, order what you want. And a lot of people also do suggested menus. So again, that's where I would say the menu engineering, I would say that's where an upselling can happen, where you could suggest higher margin products. So those are tricks that you can obviously play. We all do that. From a perspective, you do it with something which is perishable or going to perish. You try and push that. So it's been fair. It is going to perish. You're really going to have something. Why not I suggest to that? So those things happen. And then, the top business runs on what you call happy hours. Again, that's menu engineering. Happy hours, some happy hours are like they'll anyway charge you double the price in happy hours. You feel you're getting half the price. So it depends. Like I said, each to their own. But menu engineering is important. You have to look at the menu. Just to let you know, and this you can ask my team, I look at every menu which gets printed, and I personally look at every menu. I'm so fastidious about menu and the spellings and the pricing you can't imagine. Ask anybody. I said, why do you look at menus? I said, that is the first thing the consumer looks at. That's your first touch point. So
Absolutely.
it's very important to have the right menu.
Yeah, correct. And it cuts back to the consumer experience really in the world of social media and Instagram. So, within seconds it's on
Absolutely.
Instagram.
Absolutely.
So, Varun, I'd like to bring you in here. This is a for a roundabout question. Aggregated commissions have been eating into margins, right? Why haven't more restaurants aggressively built their own direct marketing channels, direct ordering channels? Sorry.
So the question is why restaurants don't build their own channels?
Yes.
The aggregator-led discussion, I personally see is very synergetic, right? I don't think it's everything comes at cost. It's very easy to say anything, but most people in this room and outside this room who are at a scale, their majority orders are coming from aggregators. So there is massive value that is coming to us, right? And nobody stops anyone build their own channels. It's a free market. I think the reality is that building tech is one huge task, and then making that tech popular towards customers and getting orders on that tech, that's another challenge. So my answer is that nobody stops us. Let's go ahead and build them. But it is very easy to have comparisons between this versus ideal. I think the right way to have comparisons is between this versus that. When we started Saturdays in 2014 February, we didn't have aggregators at that time, and we wrote about a million lines of code. Soon I realized I'm not a tech company, I'm a food company, and I better do my work properly. So I think everything comes at a cost, and it's a good thing that we have aggregators. The truth is that the maximum orders come from them, and we can sit down and define, and if we want to really build that tech, let's build that tech. It's a massive exercise, it's a massive value. So yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's like Varun said, right? We started when there were no aggregators. And we had a call center. Right? We had like 10 people on calls, taking calls from customers. We had 30, 40 riders taking out delivery orders. And I feel like this aggregation has really helped. We don't then have to focus on the call center or like the riders or how we're going to manage them and just focus on food like what Varun says.
Right, absolutely. Lokesh, I'd like to address my next question to you. If you could remove one cost from your business, what would it be which would impact your margins the most in a positive way, and why?
I would say that discounting, selling the product through discount or through price is one of the most unsustainable way to do business. It's an easiest way, quick wins, you'll get some top line. But that's just not sustainable and it bleeds. You are paid every bleeds. And so one thing I would definitely avoid in building business is I will not build the business through discount or through pricing. Instead, I think the difficult way to build business is to have great product, have great customer experience, and that's it. Takes a lot of effort, patience, and longer time, but definitely it will be profitable. That's what I will do. One thing if I have to avoid is to get the growth, come what may, through discounting. So that's good.
Interesting that you say this. Nachiket, I'd like your views on something. What is the gestation period for cloud kitchens? You've been closely involved in the business. So many have shut down. There are various statistics in the market. This is not just in the pandemic, but even otherwise. So what is your suggestion to entrepreneurs in this space? And how do they move forward? How do they avoid these pitfalls?
I think looking at your cost, like they said, right? Looking at your cost and sort of utilizing your manpower better. Like even Loki said, your packaging is important, but are you giving the right product and the right packaging? How can the packaging be leveraged across all your brands that you're working out of? Also, Cloud Kitchen also have, there's someone here named Sid Jogani, and he does helps brands, sort of get the right ERPs and the right metrics. So you need to, like really look at your data, understand where your customer is coming from, what are they looking for, are they really looking for value, are they looking for a good product, and try to give that, and then cross-utilize, and see how you can perform better there. And if you, try to save small margins, but not compromise on a product, the customer is then becomes a more loyal customer. And the more loyal customer, the more they order from you, because they realize that A, it's good pricing, B, it's good quality, and it's healthy, and something that I can eat often. I think a lot of people sort of try to cost cut too much and not look at the health aspect of the product that they're sending out. So if you cross-utilize your product, the ingredients, use them well, and also just look at your data and use that better, I think there's a lot of opportunity for you to sort of save margins and sort of leverage that for your business.
I'm sure that's very helpful for industry. Ashu, I'd like to come to you now from entrepreneurs back to legacy companies. There's quick commerce versus neighborhood stores versus modern trade. What works for cost best for a brand like yours?
That you get me in a fix here, but I think all of them have a role to play. I think, as I mentioned, quick com is really unlocking value for the category, and that's critical for us. It's really growing the category, it's become significant. The modern trade, GT plays a different role, especially the neighborhood stores. We would like them to all to bring some sanity to the debates that go out as a category, because I don't think the consumer is seeking deep discounts on the category. There is a limited freezer space. He or she is buying the pack to be consumed. He's not going to buy more packs because you're rebating or discounting, and is not seeking it. So that's my only appeal to all the channels, that I think we should be playing that game. The category will grow. It's already at a decent CAGR. The focus should be on variety. The focus should be on visibility. And as I was sharing with you, that even the towns beyond metros, which we call Bharat, is seeing a very, very interesting play with frozen, because they are discovering it for the first time and they're realizing it's not potato, it's much beyond potato. I can get it. So that's my only appeal, that we don't need to rebate or discount too much.
Right, and finally, last words from you, Samir. It would be nice to have your views on this. Does micro focus on data always work? How much can data make or break P&L?
Okay, I'll just give an example. Right, we work in raising funding for this burger brand, and one of the questions that came up when we looked at data is that you can look at food versus beverage contribution, but when you double click on it and you realize that a subcategory like coffee, what it does in a burger shop, right? Why does a burger shop have coffee first of all, versus the amount spent on their capex in setting up a coffee program, right? So obviously coffee sales is very low. You're on a street where a lot of coffee shops, people go to coffee shops for coffee today, but like 8-10% of your capex was on that coffee machine and training and everything else. So I think when you talk about profitability, looking at data points minutely in this matter, all the way from the people that you're hiring, the different skill sets that you're hiring them, to deliver a product that essentially just a top line is not contributing much, and at a bottom line, because there is this equipment sitting which needs constant servicing and everything, does not make sense. Remove that from the equation, and the math on that outlet, like the very next month, changes dramatically, and in this case, changed dramatically. Right? So I think like any other business, because this is so real time, any restaurant or bar or cafe that we run or a cloud kitchen brand, you have to look at all of these data points. I don't think you can escape any of them. You can't just look at a category and go to subcategory. You have to keep double clicking. Essential to making businesses succeed.
Great. Time's up. I could go on, but the ticker is on. So it's been a really fabulous conversation. I learned a lot, and I've made a lot of new friends. Clearly, the message is that margins that matter. There is no one formula that fits all. Different businesses have to pivot and adapt very fast. That is, there are so many deliverables, and we're living in such a dynamic environment. Like I said in the beginning, there are deliveries, logistics, cost, GST, and so many other issues that your industry is dealing with. So yeah, I'm sure things are going to look only better from here. And thank you so very much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, Ratna. Gentlemen, to felicitate our panel, could I call Zarawa Kaura up on stage? And along with the current panel, our two speakers in the workshop, Tarak Bhattacharya and Ankit Patel. Tarak, Ankit, could I get you on stage as well, please?